Thank you very much, dear Bernd. So I'll go through the question as they've been posed. The first one, you had two questions. I will start with the second, and I think it will bring the light on the first one. I mean, the question was, what is, how do I understand the goal of this new tariff policy coming from the United States of America? First and foremost, I have to say that in all discussions we have, our American counterparts are highlighting that they really feel that the global trade system is unfair to them. That simply there was different bias in different tariffs accumulated over the years, and that they want on the 2nd of April to rebalance the system. That the goal, as they stated, is that they want to have a fair trade system. They want to look at the barriers, at the tariffs, they would be on the same level, and at the same time they also want to tackle the non-tariff barriers. The ultimate goal, as they describe it, is to reindustrialize US, to shorten the global supply chains, to do this onshoring in US, and to revive industry and economy. So this is how I understand what is the goal. Of course, we are having very intense discussion on these topics, that we in Europe have the same goal. We also are reindustrializing. Also for us, the industry is very important, and in some concrete elements like steel and aluminium, we are tackling the same issue, which is overcapacity. We are also tackling the same problems if it comes to scarcity of the critical raw materials. And let's not forget, we still are absolutely convinced the United States are our allies. So I think we should really try to look for the ways how to resolve these global issues as allies within the G7 framework. And I have to say that despite, as you can imagine, these talks are not easy, not difficult, I have to say that I have a very good working relationship with the Secretary of Commerce, Mr. Latnik, with the US Trade Representative, Mr. Greer, and we are trying to work on the so-called no surprise policy to kind of brainstorm each other about the decisions to come. I also want to be very realistic about what will happen between now and the 2nd of April. There is a lot of, I would say, explanations from the both sides happening, and I will answer this more clearly in a subsequent questions. But I think that it's still a lot what needs to be explained. What are tariffs? What are taxes? What are fines? If it comes, let's say, to our digital regulation, and this needs clearly the clarification. So for United States of America, the 2nd of April, as some journalists describe it, this is the World Tariff Day. And I expect that most of the countries on this planet, if not all, will be hit by the US tariffs, with the goal of rebalancing from their perspective trade relationship. Therefore, now I'm coming to the first question. We, I think, would have to recalibrate our response, because as you would recall, our measures being targeted to react to this 25% tariffs on steel, aluminium, and derivatives. And so what we did was that we we taken from the freezer the first package, which was actually agreed already, I think, five years ago, which is approved, which was discussed, and we put it on the table. And we now see that clearly this is not enough, not only to address this 25%, but it's definitely not enough what might come on top of it, because I think that there will be something which will come on top of it. So therefore, what we are suggesting right now, also to keep the unity among the member states, which I think is absolutely crucial and important, is that we presented the first list, and then we presented already the second list, and immediately started the consultations with the member states and relevant stakeholders to also follow our legal procedures, because we have to be on legally very, very safe ground when we are talking about the countermeasures. So all this process would be completed by mid-April, and if we will not find the solution which would be based on understanding, or if we would not see, I would say, how we can resolve this issue. So we are ready with the countermeasures by the mid-April. So I think that's why we are putting, I would say, these two lists together. We will recalibrate and adjust our response when we see what is coming on the 2nd of April, and then if we cannot find a solution until the mid-April, we will simply come up with our countermeasures. So we're definitely not changing the course. We just want to be very, very clear what we are going to do. Maybe one additional element when we are trying to kind of detect what are the areas which are so important for our US counterparts. So most of the discussion is evolving around 5 areas where they feel that they need to rebalance the relationship. Cars, chips, timber, steel, aluminium, and pharma. And so these would be, I think, the 5 areas. I understand from my contacts with our US counterparts, they see the most problematic the car section. For the rest, I think we'll have intense discussions, but very much I would say what they're looking at is that we export 800,000 cars and they export 160,000 cars, and as I said, most of the exports to EU are European brands, even though they are made in US. So I think this is a little bit the situation, what is on the table and what we are trying to deal with. To Mr. Warborn, clearly, I would like to underline one thing. As you can see from everything what I say, what we do, we are not trigger happy. We are not happy at all about where we are. We are not happy at all that we have to have measures, countermeasures, discussions with our closest allies of the last 70, 80 years. But at the same time, I mean, we also have to show that we will protect our businesses, we will protect our citizens, we will protect our regulatory autonomy. And that if there will be no other choice, we will have to deploy our countermeasures. But I can also tell you that we will try to avoid it as much as possible. When I was there, of course, I heard a lot of, I would say, complaints towards the EU on the issues, also as you mentioned, on lobster, on shellfish, on many other things. But they also presented our list of grievances to our US partners, because we have some issues linked with SPS which are on the table for more than 10 years. So it's, I would say, mutual, that if you really want to kind of remove the problems from the table, let's look at their list, let's look at our list, and let's do it as biggest trading partners on this planet and be constructive about it. Because for me it's also very difficult to explain to European agri-food and agriculture industry that for the pears and apples they have to wait for 10 years to get a permit to import this to US, and nothing is happening. And I can give you a lot of examples like that. So I would be in this sense for the positive reciprocity, that we work on positive agenda together and not how can we actually hit each other. Let's see how far we can go until the 2nd of April, but we definitely should not stop there, because our trade relationship is simply too important for both of us, but I would say also for the world. We are talking about more than 30% of the global trade, and I think if we will have a problem, I would say a lot of other countries would have a problem as well. To Madam Brilka, here I would like to say that you probably look at the first list of our countermeasures, which was composed 5 years ago. And how we are, of course, composing this list, I think it's very important for the honourable members to understand the logic. That first and foremost, we want to make sure that we are kind of targeting the goods which we can get from somewhere else. Secondly, we are also making very thorough analysis to make sure that our member states are kind of negatively impacted at the same level, that it's fair for everyone. And it's not easy. But we are doing our utmost to make sure that this burden, which we don't like, which we hate, I can say, but it's part of the countermeasures, is equally spread. And we are definitely not blinded by the political associations, and we don't want to do it. So if we can avoid it, let's avoid it. And therefore we started the consultations now with the both list, giving the opportunity to member states, the relevant stakeholders, to talk to us, because I believe that through these intense consultations, and we are talking to them non-stop, right now to our member states. We want to build a strong unity because that's our most precious currencies, and we went through quite difficult negotiations in the past, and we know how important this is. And then to Francesco, I totally agree with you that it would be much better to avoid this situation, and I can tell you that we are just not flexing the muscles. As I said, if we can, we would avoid it. But also, I mean, we have a lot of products where the United States are very much dependent on us. If you just take, paradoxically, the specialty steel, they don't have it. Without our specialty steel, they cannot build their planes, their tanks, and the cars. They need specialty steel, which is made only in Europe. So therefore, that was my suggestions to our American counterparts. Okay, I understand that this is the political signal that we want to clearly rebuild the steel and aluminum industry in the US. But in this case, where you really need our specialty steel, shouldn't we at least, kind of have an exemption for that? But at this time it was not possible. In future, I believe we can resolve it. But there are a lot of other products where also our American counterparts need European Union. They are very much interested in our metal scrap. They are very much interested in chip printing machine. They are very much interested in the money printing machines. And of course, they also need to cooperate with us a lot on the different navigational system for the planes. And it's normal, because we are allies and we've been building our supply chains in the way that we never believed that we would actually having this discussion. So therefore, I think we also have to remind that, okay, we need a lot of American products, but the Americans need also a lot of European products as well. If it comes to the question of Madam Carlsborough, I think that the debate on the Ukrainian track is very much led by my colleague, High Representative Vice President Kallas. And if it comes to Article 29, of course we are preparing. We know that there is a deadline of, if I recall correctly, 5th of June, and we want to be ready by then. Just yesterday I had another phone call with the Ukrainian agriculture minister, so we are also consulting internally within the European Commission, and we will do our utmost to be ready and to have also support from our member states that we can have a smooth transition from the ATMs into the Article 29 procedure. To Madam Cavazzini, the digital tax, and I think it was also the question of Mr. Shirdevan. I spent quite some time, to be honest, to explain how our digital regulation functions, that what is perceived in some circles in the US as a tax are actually the fines. So if there is illegal content on the platform, and if this illegal content is not removed after, let's say, our proper procedures, there is a fine, like in any enforcement measure. So what is illegal offline should be illegal online. This is our principle. And if you simply do not correct your behavior, so there is the fine. But the fact is that for many of the US, our fines are seen as a taxes. And that's something what permanently requires explanation. And I don't think that we are there yet. And I think that Madam Cavazzini is well informed that we have, I think, 5 or 6 member states who already have the digital taxation, and it's of course something to be clearly discussed in the future, because unfortunately the OECD-less process got stuck, and we didn't make the headway in that regard. Maybe if you allow me as a last point, because it's also linked with the question of Mr. Benifei, to explain a little bit what is the strategy for the long term, and what we are going to do for steelers in Europe. Of course, in the medium to long term, we will spare no efforts to negotiate with our American partners to hopefully get us into the greener pasture, that to have a normal trading relationship. I think it will not be easy, but I believe as the two biggest trading partners, I mean, we should really arrive to that. Until then, we'll be, of course, defending our businesses, our citizens, our workers, because that's what is our task, and we will do it very, very thoroughly. Concretely on the steel and aluminium, we simply just to give you two numbers. Steel production in Europe currently is around 124 million tons. The global overcapacity for 2026 is expected to be 630 million tons. That's gigantic. And of course, when you see that some of the big markets like US are closing themselves in, of course, we have to be prepared for the potential trade diversion. So what we are doing? Currently, between now, as of 1st of April, until these measures would expire, we are looking at how can we better manage our safeguards, our quotas. So we will be looking how to limit potential carryovers, how to make sure that that unused quotas are simply unused, and to simply tightening up the system to give a breathing space to our steel industry. And we, of course, will want to come up with more concrete proposals in the third quarter of this year, how to deal with steel and aluminium is in post-2026 period, because clearly this would be needed because of this overcapacity and because of how the big markets are simply very much limiting the trade with steel and aluminium. So, Mr. Lange, this would be the responses to the first part.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Maros. Second round on US with 10 members asking for the floor. And Jessica van Leuven is first. 1 minute, please.